Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, I am asked all the time for people to tell me, describe my life partner. Who am I going to marry? What will they be like? Describe them to me. Give me some clues. Well, I have many ways to tell all about this, and I thought I might share just a few, just to give you an idea of how the birth chart works. So before I go into this, always remember to sign up for my free newsletter, and you will get all of my monthly predictions delivered to your email address. Go to galacticcenter.org. And don't forget to check out my spiritual jewelry, where I'm selling malas and earrings that remind us of our spiritual purpose here. Go to galacticcenter.org. Now, let's talk about how I can see what your partner will be like. This is so fun to look at because the seventh house, as you well know, the 12 houses in astrology represent different areas of our life. Well, the seventh house is our marriage house. And therefore, if you totally understand the seventh house, you will be able to depict what the partner will be like. Now, first of all, planets just being in the seventh house will describe your partner. Let's say you have the sun in the seventh house. Then that would mean you have a domineering partner that's got to be the center of attention generally. Of course, the sign really does vary. If the sun is in Aries in the seventh house, you know you've got a dominating partner, or in Leo. Aries is the sign of exaltation for the sun, and Leo is the sign of rulership. So you're going to have a dominating partner, but they can be very successful. But you better make sure you stand out of the limelight, letting them have the show. That's the sun there. Now, if you have Saturn there, Saturn in the seventh house would mean that the partner is mega ultra responsible. And yes, you go for relationships that are going to go for the duration, that are going to last. Remember, Saturn gets Digbala in the seventh house, meaning directional strength. It's strong there. It loves to be in the seventh house. So it will attract strong partners that will last generally, not always, but you'll try to make them last. But at the same time, Saturn can be older, someone that's older when it's in your seventh house. If Mercury's in your seventh house, this means you have to have somebody that you can communicate with, that you relate with, that is highly intelligent. And especially the signs matter too. But Mercury can also represent a sense of humor, and you've got to have somebody that makes you laugh, or is intelligent but sharp with great communication skills. Now, I'm being very general, but these things you can tell if Venus is there. Venus in the seventh house would mean you love somebody that's very attractive. That's number one. You can't be with somebody unless they look good, the package looks good on the outside. Venus goes for beauty, and it's also very charming and graceful. Therefore, you're very drawn to somebody who has great social skills. They are very attractive and they're very charming. Just be aware that because of their charm and their grace and good looks, others will be attracted to your partner. And Venus in the seventh house, because of this, can cause problems with relationships, believe it or not. Mars in the seventh house, this is what we call Kuja dosha. Mars aspecting the seventh causes problems in the relationships. And really, it's nothing that can't be worked out. But you are drawn to very strong and argumentative individuals many times. And this is actually when Mars is in the seventh, when Mars is in the first, when Mars is in the 12th, or Mars is in the fourth house. In all of those instances, Mars is aspecting the seventh house, Kuja dosha, causing marital upsets, mainly because the person can be very argumentative and have their way and be very Mars-like, which can be combative. So if you have Jupiter in the 7th house, well, many times this can mean a very high-minded partner, could be very spiritual, or it can even represent many relationships, not always, so don't freak out if you have that. But it can mean a high-minded, more spiritual person. But sometimes, depending on the sign, let's say it's in Cancer, Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, your partner will be such a know-it-all. That's hard to deal with, you know, you just got to learn how to let it go and let them be right, because they have to be right. But Jupiter can be the philanthropist, the philosopher, the spiritualist, or somebody that's just excessive in some way, with Jupiter being in the 7th house. So if you have the moon in the 7th house, this means you have a very sensitive, emotional partner. And because the moon moves the fastest, can be relationships that fluctuate quite often. Yes, but the moods of your partner can be very fluctuating, and that's bothersome. So that's kind of a difficult placement in its own way as well. Now, if you have Rahu in your 7th house, this is a partner that is very hard to deal with. And sometimes, not always, they can be aggressive, they can be know-it-alls, but sometimes there can be some qualities of an addictive type personality. Be aware of that. K2 in the 7th house means you've got a partner that is more needy. They could be spiritual. That's the positive of K2, very nice and spiritual. But at the same time, it can definitely mean that the partner is a victim, always needing and draining your energy. Now, remember, when I talk about this, this may even be your very first serious relationship you had, and you overcame that, and the following relationships don't chalk up to all of what I'm saying. But generally, the 7th house is how we relate to people. So no matter how many relationships we're in, it still serves its purpose of who and what we're attracted to. So now that I've gone through, well, Neptune being in the 7th house, make sure that your communications are clear, because you will feel deceived by the person, because you'll feel like they're not forthcoming with the truth or honesty. And Pluto in the 7th house can mean someone that tries to control you and can be very manipulative. Uranus means somebody that's constantly traveling and changing. There's a lot of change here. But then, let's say there's nothing in your 7th house. The next step we'll do, there's many things I do, but just to make it simple, we take the planet that rules the 7th house and we look at what house that goes to, such as if the ruler of the 7th house, let's say it's the sun. Let's say you've got Leo. You have Aquarius as your ascendant. Therefore, Leo rules your 7th house. That means the sun rules the 7th. And whatever house it goes to will tell you volumes about your partner in your chart. Such as, if the ruler of the 7th house goes to the 1st house, they're all about you, and you're all about relationships. You will do everything, drop everything to be there for them. You put your relationships first. If the ruler of the 7th house goes to the 2nd house, there's always going to be issues around money. And maybe that's why the partnership was formed in the first place. But money issues will be the core problem. If the ruler of the 7th is in the 3rd, then you're going to find that you like to do the same things together. You think the same, you like to take classes, you like to be together with different events and going places. You like to travel together. Now remember, I'm being very general, but let's continue on. If the ruler of the 7th is in the 4th house, you both appreciate family and you look for somebody that loves family and will stick around to be at home. If the ruler of the 7th is in the 5th, you'll find a partner and you will come together with the aspect of having children. And they say, though, that the ruler of the 7th and the 5th, or the ruler of the 5th and the 7th, is actually a difficult placement for marriage. I believe it's because you're in love with being in love and you're always looking for more intensity in the love relationship. Now, if the ruler of the 7th sits in your 6th house, there can be some struggles in relationships, things you've got to work out and overcome. Or you could even meet through work in some way. But it is a bit of a struggle and you've got to be working together more so. If the ruler of the 7th's in the 7th, marriage and relationships are powerful and so is your partner. And you're going to do everything to make it work. And you do everything as much as you can together. If the ruler of the 7th is in the 8th, this is one of the more difficult placements. And it deals with difficulty in marriage and relationship. It can mean betrayals and difficulties such as the partner not being truthful, forthcoming, or honest. You got a lot to work out in relationships if the ruler of the 7th is in the 8th. Now, if the ruler of the 7th is in the 9th, you're going to marry someone, if you're a woman, that reminds you of your father. Likewise, if you're a guy and the ruler of the 7th goes to the 4th, you're going to marry somebody that reminds you of your mother. But the ruler of the 7th and the 9th is all about needing to find someone that believes the same way as you do, having the same spiritual purpose and beliefs, and you'll travel together. If you have the ruler of the 7th and the 10th, you'll probably meet through work, or you'll end up working together. And you have the same purpose in life, the same direction that you want to travel and work together as a person, as a family, together. And probably you'll have a career together. If you have the ruler of the 7th in the 11th, then maybe you've met your partner through groups, friends, organizations, parties, social events. Maybe a friend sets you up. That kind of thing's very possible. And you'll feel like your partner is your best friend throughout your life. So if the ruler of the 7th is in the 12th, you'll find that there can be losses through relationships. A lot of heartache, hardship, loss through relationships. But on the other end of the spectrum, when the ruler of the 7th is in the 12th, your partner just may simply be a foreigner from another country, and you will be connected to foreign people throughout your life. You will heal together in relationships. So with that was just a little bit of what the first thing I do when somebody asks me, tell me about my marriage partner. What will they be like? And I have another whole technique that will take another whole video to give you more information. And even on top of that, looking at the Navamsha chart, there's so much to it. One more thing that I want to add before I leave. Whatever sign the ruler of the 7th house goes into will describe your partner, such as my first example was, if you have Leo ruling your 7th house, that means the sun rules it. Therefore, they will be very much like the sign that your sun is in. So if your sun is in Libra, then they will be very Libra-like. And the house that it's in is another thing, like I just went through. But last but not least, the nakshatra will describe them as well. The planet that rules the 7th house, let's say it's the sun. And your sun sits in Leo in the nakshatra Magha. So the planet that rules your 7th house is Leo, but it's in the nakshatra Magha. Magha rules kings and it rules royalty And this could mean somebody that's very powerful, maybe a CEO of a company or something to that effect. So there's so many dimensions to a chart. I wanted to give you just a little flavoring. I hope you've learned something from this. So if you would like to study Vedic astrology with me, go to my university website, which is universityofvedicastrology.com. Join our community of astrologers around the world. Thank you.